What's up everyone, my name is Dan Hasegawa and welcome to my YouTube channel, iShinobi Studios. On today's episode of Cosplay Academy, we learn how to make KDA AKALI's face mask. Let's jump right in. AKALI has been one of the most loved and iconic characters, especially after League of Legends released the music video, KDA Pop Star. It's been a sensation and I have most definitely been sucked into it. So much so that I decided I must make this cosplay. Well, you know what that means. Class is now in session. So, for this project, we're gonna need black fabric. I'm just using some old scraps from a pair of black pants, black thread, thin black elastic, pins, white iron-on vinyl, an ironing board, a hot glue gun, double-sided tape, a permanent marker, a paper clip, scissors, a fabric pencil, a bobbin, and I'll be using a sewing machine, but you can also hand stitch it if you don't have a sewing machine. P.S. To save you some time, I'll link all the items I'm using in the description below. Alright, step 1. We're going to trace our template onto our fabric. Template. Fabric. I'm just going to use this. It's like a paperweight. It's like a cosmic nut. It's heavy. Alright, there's one. And since there are 2 layers of pants, I'm going to do it again, so when I cut it out, there are 4 copies. And when you space them out, make sure you leave some space for seam allowance. Alright, so technically we've got 4 different templates. So what we're gonna do, we're going to cut this out, but add a little bit of seam allowance. Depending on how good you are at sewing, you can go smaller or larger seam allowance if you're so-so. We're gonna use some pins so you don't misalign it while you're cutting it. Everything looking good so far? Cool. Then go ahead and pin the other one as well. So I used to not pin everything, and then you start noticing these small little imperfections when you're sewing. It just doesn't stay together, it gets misaligned. It doesn't always make a huge difference, but it's made enough difference for me that I continue to pin what I'm sewing. Alright, we're gonna cut this out now with that seam allowance. Pro tip, use fabric scissors. These are just some Fiskars. They're not too expensive, but for the love of God, only use it for fabrics. Alright, so there is one, and you can see the seam allowance that I allowed right here. That is so when I sew it, I have this much room for making mistakes. I wish life were like that. You know, just add a little seam allowance to my life, have a little bit more room for mistakes. We could all use a little seam allowance right now. Alright, on to the second one. Alright, so we've got 2 pairs, and the next step we're gonna do, we're going to sew the nose piece together. Alright, and we're gonna try and basically sew right there. And I'm gonna keep some of these in, just to keep it lined up. I can take them out as I sew. Alright, next we're gonna need to install thread and some bobbin. Thread. Release the bobbin tray, install our bobbin, and follow the guidelines for your sewing machine. Put it there. Boom. All right, we're ready to go. So I will start right there. So I'm going to stitch forward and then back on both ends to give it a strong stitch. Forward, back. And let's follow that line. And you can move the pins as you need. Alright, I'm gonna go ahead and move this one. You can see it's a little off of the line, but that's still okay. And we're gonna back stitch once we hit the end of the line, back stitch. And that should be good. Release this, cut the thread, and move to the next one. Not too bad. That's not too bad. That's good. So we can remove the pins now and sew the two halves together. So do it. All right, so this step is more important to use the pins. We are going to open it up, open the other one up. We're gonna match where the nose is and make sure you don't put it in upside down. So I've got the two nose pieces matched. I am going to pin these together so when I sew it, it doesn't stretch and get uneven. And you want to make sure the two ends match. So, like that. Cool. Let's sew this. And you know, I put my thread underneath because I always start with a forward stitch, and it doesn't get tangled up as easy this way. So I like doing it like that. See how it's popping out on both sides? Like that. I'm gonna go ahead and make them meet so it's already holding the form of a face mask now. See? Pretty cool. Now I'm going to start right here. Where the seam allowance is flaring out, I'm going to fold it down on both sides the same way. Alright, and if you need to, you can lift up your foot to change the angle just a little bit. Also, I'm a noob at sewing, so if I'm doing something wrong, let me know in the comments because I want to learn. Learning is great. Alright, there's one side, not bad. Not bad. Now we're gonna pin the other side and sew it up. Got it all pinned up, so now I'm gonna sew it. Here we go. It's okay if you make weird faces while you're sewing. It's a sign of focus. I don't know. That's just what I tell myself. It helps me sleep at night. And get ready for that back stitch. Back stitch. Sweet. There's a nice convenient little razor right here so I can cut the fabric. Sweet, right? So check this out. It's starting to take shape. I'm sorry for that. Alright, so the next step, we are going to install a nose piece. So let's fire up the hot glue gun. Hot glue guns are pretty sweet. Alright, so for the nose piece, I'm gonna use it's like a paper clip, and I just straightened it out, and then bent the corners with some pliers. You can do it with your fingers if you're feeling brave. This, if you bend it, it helps so it doesn't poke you in the face, and also it gives the hot glue gun a little bit more surface area to grab onto. I'm gonna get some coffee while it's warming up. All right, I think it's about ready. It's good to go. So what I usually do, thumb the ends, and then try and bend it right on that half point. Just like that. Like magic. A little bit more. Boom. So look, a little bit like that. Now make sure you get the nose. It's the one that has this straight top. Not this. This is the chin side. And on the nose, I'm going to hold it like so you can kind of meet that middle point, right? We're gonna glue about right there. Like that. Camera focusing is hard. I'm just gonna let it dry. No, patience is a virtue.
I wish you would hurry up.
No, patience is a virtue.
Alright, that's one side. It's not super pretty, but that'll do. Alright, so next side. So it'll look kind of like that. I'm gonna have to fix that. Alright, it's both sides glued. The GoPro on the sewing machine, the adhesive came off. I'm gonna have to install another one. That's so sad. He shoots, he scores! Alright, but before I do that, I'm gonna add just a tiny bit more hot glue, just to reinforce it. And you don't want the hot glue to go too far away from the pin, mostly maybe just like a centimeter.
Otherwise, when you bend it, it's just gonna have a kind of weird form on your nose, which will look strange. And we're trying to look cool, because AKALI is cool.
Alright, and clean up this other side. Don't do that. Don't touch it. Just be patient. Alright, now it's good. So now is the fun part. We didn't close these ends, right? So it's kind of like a little tube. Like that, right? I'm gonna stick my finger in there. So we're gonna flip it inside out. And be careful to not disturb the nose piece too much. So just be careful. There's not really a right or wrong way to do it. I guess the wrong way would be to not be careful. I'm kind of going with the nose piece first and just shoving it into that hole. No pun intended. If you need to, you can make it smaller, if that helps. Alright. My face mask is giving birth to a new face mask. And just be careful with that nose piece and pull it out. It's okay if it looks a little strange at first. Don't lose hope. So if it looks like this, that's normal. That's the nose piece. We're gonna fix that. So we're gonna bend it to be straight, like that. And then let's kind of flatten this out. Try and get the edges to line up. And once you've got it to here, then we can flip it this way so that nose piece sits a little bit better. But once you got that, then we can bend that nose piece down. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna unplug this hot glue gun first, and then I'm gonna plug in something else that's hot, an iron. And then we're gonna iron this, because right now it's really fluffy. We don't want that. And I'm also gonna fix this GoPro. All right, I'll be right back. and hopefully this GoPro stays, at least for this episode. Why would you do that? I just set that up. And now we play the waiting game. Alright, next up, we're going to flatten this part out so it holds like that. The one thing that you want to avoid, feel where the hot glue is. You don't want to touch that because it will actually try and come through the fabric and you'll be able to see it. So feel where that's at. I put it at the end of my ironing board, flatten the rest of this out. That's where I iron. Perfecto. We're so close to being done. Starting to come together. Check this out. This is the time that you put it on and pretend it's all done and all the pain and suffering is behind you. I'm digging it.
Not like digging, but like, you know, enjoying, not like digging a hole. That'd be silly.
Alright, I'm gonna unplug this thing now. Don't forget. Alright, we're almost done with the face mask, and then we got the vinyl. Last up, elastic. This stuff is sweet. So, for your face mask, you want to get thin elastic. That way it can go around your ear and it's not wiggling or like putting weird pressure on your ears. So I'm just going to guesstimate. So this is just 10 inches. I'll go ahead and cut 2. Alright, we can get that out of here. Don't throw the scissors. Alright, so we're gonna grab one of our elastic pieces. The way we're gonna do this is we are going to sandwich it like so, and then sew this. Alright, let's do this. I'm gonna sew it on this side so there's more teeth grabbing it. And back stitch. Lift it up. Oh wow! I think we did a good job. Check it out. So you want to make sure that the stitch stays on the overlapping fabric. You don't want it to come off. So let's do the other side.
Alright, forward stitch. Back stitch.
See how we did. Had a little bit more fabric overlaying on this side, but I think that's still pretty good. I'm just gonna clean up some of these hairs. Starting to look like a face mask. To get it sized right, at least with elastic like this, I just make a knot on one side. Just a nice little knot. Can you see it? Because then you can pull it tighter. How cool is that?
That's pretty neat.
I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. Tie a knot. And then, cool. And there you have it. There's the mask. Now the next step, we're gonna add some vinyl. Alright, next up, we're gonna cut out the teeth to transfer it to the vinyl. Oh, and by the way, if y'all want the template for the mask and the template for the teeth, just leave a comment below, and if there's some interest, I'll try and get it online. Also, these are not the fabric scissors. These are titanium scissors. They're not too bad. You know, I should have done this first, but I'm going to number them so I can remember the order, because they're actually not symmetrical. Hopefully numbering will help me remember where everything goes. Alright, I got a stool. Now let's transfer these outlines onto the vinyl. Alright, I'm going to transfer the design onto the iron-on vinyl. And with iron-on vinyl, this very shiny, slick side is the outside carrier. The inside of the curve is the adhesive. And the inside, the adhesive side, is the only side that really takes a marker or a Sharpie. So I'm going to trace my design on here, but make sure not to go on the inside of your design because it will show on the final product. Alright, I am going to use a little double-sided tape to hold it in place. Alright, double-sided tape came in clutch. I'm going to remove these masks, then start cutting away, but I think I'm gonna go print off another AKALI's mask so I can not lose track of these, because once I cut them out, it's gonna be hard to remember which tooth and which design piece is which. So I'll be right back. Alright, so we're back. I've got my extra print off, so when I cut these out, I can lay them where they need to be, and I won't get them mixed up, because all the shapes are kind of similar. Alright, first I'm gonna remove the masks. And some of the tape residue is left behind, so I'm gonna get rid of that too. Now that we got all the tape out, we're gonna cut out these outlines, but make sure you cut on the inside as close as you can so you don't pick up too much of the permanent marker, because we'll see that when we iron it onto the mask. Also, I'm gonna go ahead and use this double-sided tape and then make a line here so I can cut it out, place it where it belongs. Here's one, and there's still a tiny bit of permanent marker on it, but just a little. And since the fabric we're going to iron it onto is black, I think it's going to be just fine. So this part is more trial and error, except you get one trial and 0 errors. So, you know, definitely look at your reference, place it on there, figure out exactly where you want to go. And when I put it on the ironing board, I'm going to do one side at a time, but alternate between the top pieces, then the bottom pieces. That way it'll help me compose everything how I want. Remember to flip these around, because when we cut it out, it's in reverse. So this side actually goes onto this side. Also try and avoid the nose piece where we put that hot glue, so feel for that and avoid that. Alright, here we go. I'm also going to use the tip of this to try and get a better edge. And just since we're going to have some overlapping pieces of vinyl, I'm going to leave that outer transport sheet on it just so we don't disturb the vinyl that we have already applied. And we're going to try and get it as symmetrical as possible. Symmetry! Alright, that's a good start. It looks kind of just like a whiskers or a mustache right now. Alright, it's just looking at a reference. It's gonna go just slightly above the jawline. That way when you wear it, it's not hiding under your jaw. You don't want the transfer paper to pull up too early while it's still warm, because that's when it's not fully dried or applied, and it will pull up the vinyl. So just once you put it on there, try and give it a second to kind of settle in. Alright. Check that out. That wasn't quite as hard as I thought. Tedious. Looks pretty good. I'm just gonna check all the edges. Make sure that they are flat. The very centerpiece I'm worried about, so I'm gonna get some cotton and put it in the middle of the mask to kind of hold it round, and then try and reapply a little bit of heat to those two centerpiece teeth. Cotton. Yeah, looks pretty good. I'm gonna go ahead and take off the transfer very nice and carefully, and when you peel it off, don't just peel it straight up. Peel it and then pull it back. We'll get this one right here. So you're going to get the little transfer piece of plastic like so, and peel it back. Nice and slow, and just keep an eye on it. Make sure the vinyl's not coming up with it, and good to go. Boom! Still kind of smells, but I'm in love with it. Alright, and there you have it. KDA AKALI's face mask, so you can stay in style even during a pandemic. Also, the 2 wigs for AKALI's cosplay just came in, and they're gonna be a little tricky to style because she's got some gravity-defying hairdo. Hence why I got 2 wigs, one for the base and one for the ponytail. So if y'all want to see a tutorial on that, let me know in the comments below. If this video helped you, give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more tutorials like this in the future, make sure to subscribe and karate chop that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future tutorials. Well, that's it for today. Class is dismissed.